Jim, my friend, how are you? Welcome to the show.
We.
I mean, you can speak for
What a
both of
great
us.
way to start.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So good to see you.
We'll run the logo and then we'll just have a little reset. It won't even matter. Nobody will know
Okay.
if it'll run. Look, it's technical failure day. Look at this. And here we go. Now, normally I would clean that up, but since you made a gaffe and I made a gaffe, let's just be real people and keep it all in. Viewers don't have to think we're perfect. We're filmmakers. They already think we're perfect. So
we're just human. We're just human.
Jim,
How's
I'm
it going?
excited to talk to you. Full disclosure to the audience, I've met Jim in person. We've been at festivals together. We were, in fact, at the last festival on Earth, if I remember correctly. We were at the Durango Film Festival in March of 2020. When everybody was flying home going like, do I wear a mask? Should I wear? I don't know. There's this pandemic thing starting. And we were all at breakfast that day and they're like, South by's closing. South by's not running this year. This pandemic's like a real thing. And
yeah.
It was about a week after that the whole world just shut down. So
that's exactly right.
Like,
it went from at the beginning of the festival where it was like, oh, those poor people in Seattle who are sick to, oh my, what is going on? Just within days. Times. Yeah, it was crazy.
But yeah, so there, I got to see your film Passive Aggressive Dads, which is now on Reveel'd, which I'm so happy it's on Reveel'd. Laughed my butt off at this film.
Great.
Set up for our audience that hasn't seen it. What is Passive Aggressive Dads about, and what are your multiple roles in the project?
Well, so Passive Aggressive Dads is about two disgruntled dads who are trying to have a nice day with their daughters at the park, just pushing them on the swings when some idiot teens drive by too fast and too loud. And they don't want to be that guy that goes up and says, you got to slow down. Yeah. But at the same time, they're really furious about this. So they enact an act of extreme passive aggression to teach them a lesson. And it's, it's got a twist at the end. And it actually was based on a 10-year long in development revenge fantasy that I had doing exactly that at that park where it takes place.
So not a revenge fantasy movie, an actual revenge fantasy.
Yeah, to where I'm sitting there going, oh, I know exactly what I would do. I would, because I didn't want to be that guy walking up and just going, dudes, you got to slow down. They're kids playing like 10 feet away. So I didn't want to be that guy, but at the same time,
Nobody wants to become their own father, right? But do you find as a screenwriter and a filmmaker that often when you're in life, you can't help but go into these fantasy situations because you're a writer? Like, everything that comes up, you're like, this is how John McClane would handle it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, but except I'm not John McClane, so it's passive aggressive, right? So so that's my revenge fantasy would have been more like I'm out of the picture and yet they're also learning their lesson. And what was funny was that on the set, I was like we were all having lunch. And one of the PAs, who's like in his early 20s, was like, so where'd you come up with the idea? And I was kind of explaining everything to the group, what I just said. And he was like, what year was that? And it turns out he was the idiot driving by too fast.
No.
Yeah. He's a local kid that, we do work together. And he was like, I'm really sorry about that. And it was like, well, you didn't kill anybody and you gave me a great idea. So that worked out. But my role in this was screenwriter and director and really editor. I mean, I did everything. My primary vision is to be a screenwriter. But a number of years ago, I kept hearing the advice, it's hard to get someone to read your 110-page feature screenplay, but it's easier to get them to watch your 4-minute funny short film. And so I was like, oh man, I guess I'm a filmmaker. All right, let's do it. And when I was a kid, when I was like 10 years old, I'd run around with my mom's Super 8 film camera and make stupid films with my kids and my friends who were kids, make animations and stuff like that, and then edit it on like one of those little tiny home editing.
Yeah, the reel-to-reel things.
Yeah. And so I was in it, man, And then I did exactly what so many people do, which is, I never understood that filmmaking was a job. Like, it's a career path. It's something you go to school for. It's like, it was this mythical thing where it's like, oh, these, like a director will get together with a bunch of famous actors and go, okay, let's make a movie. What do you think we should do next? Right. And like, that's not it at all.
No, rare.
So,
well, it happens, but rare.
right, of course. And so, like, the fact that it's a whole industry and everything like that, and I've heard this from a bunch of people that they have the exact same experience, where in high school, like, I would make mockumentaries with my friends, like based on Spinal Tap and stuff like that. We'd make our own versions of it, and we'd run around and do stuff on cameras. And then, you know, family members was like, my sister's getting married. Can you want to be the videographer? And I'd be like, sure. And like, I was known as the film guy, but no one said out loud, have you ever considered film school? You know? And
well, they were trying to spare you from a lifetime of pain and misery. So
there's that too. But and at the same time, we have to remember, which is hard to go back that far. This is pre-internet, obviously. You know, it wasn't like, I have an idea, let me look up all human knowledge.
Yeah,
for free, right?
I say that often. It wasn't I'll go post on Facebook or Instagram looking for people to make a movie with, or I'll go to YouTube and learn how to do that special effect or this edit or this stunt choreography. Like, YouTube University is a different game than the generation. I mean, I'm lucky that it's been part of my career, but it didn't start that way. And just the fact that anybody, you know, if you have a smartphone and a laptop, you are essentially a filmmaker. And that's what I think is so brilliant about the short film format. You're seeing a lot more voices that would have never had a chance when you had to spend a lot of money on film and just like highly advanced gear that had a much bigger knowledge base that you had to have just to operate, turn on it and make a film. And that's what, you know, that's part of my fascination in doing Reveel'd and talking to people on, like, filmmakers on Reveal, is I just keep seeing so many great shorts and so much, you know, sort of untapped potential from filmmakers. And I've even though I make features and other things, like short films, like, people sometimes like get to the feature level and then start to kind of like, oh, I'm just going to poo-poo on short films. But like, it's an amazing medium, and there's just a wealth of amazing content out there that really anybody that wants to make films can make films now.
Right,
It's a completely different world. You want to make a documentary, you got an iPhone, you're a documentary filmmaker. If there's a subject you're passionate about, go tell it. It will look no better, no worse than just about everything else out there, which is really fun. Scary as a filmmaker to know that the whole world is your competition now versus a handful of people. But I feel like that should just drive artists to want to be more creative and to sort of outpace their competition versus just expecting things to happen for them, maybe is the best way to say it.
Right, agreed. And, you know, I was able to utilize a lot of this, you know, what we're talking about, YouTube University. You know, my first short film that I made, which I made for $100, which was like lunch and a video card, called This Time It's Shopping. It got into, like, you know, 18 festivals and won 5 of them. And, you know, it cost more money to submit to the film festivals than $100. Yeah. But to make it, it was just me, this guy Czech, who was a videographer for documentary and an improv artist. And it was all written, but the two of us were the actors. We had one light above us. We had lots of light in the location. We had clip-on mics, and Czech, the videographer, went back and edited it and all that. And I went back and showed it to my friends, and the credits said director Czech Wingo, you know, screenwriter Jim Picariello. And my filmmaker friends was like, I thought you directed it. I was like, no, I didn't direct it. Czech directed it. I just told him what shots to take and what we were going for and describing the scene. And they were like, that's the director. And I was like, what? Like, because for someone who didn't go to film school, you see Steven Spielberg peering in the camera lens, or just sitting there, you know, like that. You're like, oh, the guy with the camera is the director. And director of photography, like 6 years ago, I didn't know that term. Like, that's how ignorant I was.
I've been in film so long, and I can't. Some people, once in a while, a cinematographer will say, we're going to get this piece of gear off the truck and do with this technique. And I go, because I have no idea what they're talking about. And I just, to this point, I haven't needed to know. But that is funny when you start out what you what you think, the perception that, oh, well, picking the shots is, and yes, that is the director's job, but it's that collaboration. The cinematographer has to be able to execute the vision. But somebody I may or may not be married to happens to be an actor, relating stories of not understanding the film industry when she graduated college and went to school for acting, did a lot of theater acting, and said, okay, I'm going to find jobs in film. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to find acting jobs. Goes to Craigslist, goes to all the newspaper, like classifieds, and goes, focus puller. I can do that. Okay. So calls up the producer, like, I'll be a focus puller for you, because she thought focus pulling was an actor who draws the attention of the camera, pulls the focus of the scene to this actor,
That's
and, like,
amazing.
bless her heart, for anybody out there who doesn't know, focus pulling is the act of actually focusing the camera lenses, and it's a very skilled set, because every time an actor moves a certain distance, you've got to adjust the focus. So that it's a very different thing than being an actor who pulls the camera in and pulls the focus of the scene.
I learned that one 2 years ago.
There you go. So you beat me to it, because This Time It's Shopping is your other short that's on Reveal. I just got to see that for the first time before we set up this interview, because I hadn't seen it. I'd only seen Passive Aggressive Dads, read some of your screenwriting. This film's fun because you watch it, and again, I don't want to give away the spoiler, but you watch it and you're like, I don't know what the tone of this movie is. I don't have a clue what these characters are talking about, almost to the point of like utter confusion. It's, but obviously when it gets to the point where it's revealed, you're like, this all makes perfect sense, because it's bizarre. You're just dropped into this bizarro world and it just keeps building. Is that the intention, that there's sort of that punchline at the end?
Yeah, that was the intention, where you understood the words they were saying and what was going on without really know what's going on. And I also knew if it went for one more minute, if it went 1 minute longer, you would have just stopped it. You would have been like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Right. So, but it's fun along the way. So I tried to make it entertaining enough along the way where you're like, all right, I'm going to give it another minute and find out what the hell's going on. And as it turns out, because there's no swearing and there's no, whatever, I didn't make it for kids, but it killed at children's film festivals. And in fact, there's this one film festival that it got into, the Providence, Rhode Island Film Festival, Children's Film Festival. That's like 3 weeks long, and they have it's almost like a summer camp for kids for 3 weeks. Where they have classes, and the judging is done by children, and it's like the amount of work they put into this thing is amazing. And it won. And while I was there, they had an impromptu course by Sesame Street for filmmakers on how to pitch Sesame Street. And I brought my children with me just to the film festival, so that was exciting in and of itself. And we had the meeting. I met the woman, Kim, who's in charge of, taking on filmmakers to do all of those, like, all the silly home artistic sort of ones, not the films with puppets or anything like that. And then went from that meeting to the awards. We won. They had never had a filmmaker who won attend at that point.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't even have anything to hand me. And I was like, can you get my kids a couple of t-shirts? They're like, oh, we could totally do that.
Can I just stand next to you like this and we'll Photoshop in an award?
That's right. And then the next day I followed up with Sesame Street saying, hey, it turns out we won. And here's our film that we won with, which was, less than 4 minutes long. And she watched it that day and said, we'll send you the packet on how to pitch us. I got to pitch them. And then I made a short film for Sesame Street.
Did you really? That's insane.
It was insane, and they paid me.
You should.
They paid real money.
You should tell me these things outside of interviews more often.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, this is.
That's the great. Listen, that's the great thing about fellow filmmakers becoming friends. There's a wealth of stories to tell for years to come. I think. So This Time It's Shopping. What year was that film shot?
I want to say that it was shot in. Where are we? It probably was shot in 2015.
Okay, so we're
and then went out to all the festivals and played in 16. I would say. So yeah, I've been only doing this for 5 years.
5-6 years later, this platform Reveel'd comes along, finds you a whole new audience for your film. Is it like a fascinating time and thing to think about as a filmmaker, that there's, you know, a new way like this, that you think of films run its life, and now there's a whole new world of audience to potentially find it.
Absolutely. I mean, and that what's interesting is, like you said, just in the past few years, I mean, I didn't even know this when I was starting it, but you know, short films were practically disposable. Like you'd make them, it went to the festivals, you'd hopefully make some contacts from it. Maybe it'd go up to YouTube, and if it was just unbelievable or you know, was lucky, it would go viral. You know, but that was unlikely for a variety of reasons. And so, but in that time, now that there are platforms like this one, you know, we have the ability to just continually introduce our older work, you know, to new audiences, which is just wonderful. I mean, one thing that I had a question for you, and I don't know if this is, you know, the appropriate place to ask, but
Try it.
yeah. You know, at Reveel'd, are you reaching out to film? I mean, this is all just busy work, but just reaching out to filmmakers from years past who, you know, you probably have 10, 20 years of great shorts that won or placed at festivals that are in digital format, not in film, that you could, you know, just have a ton of content.
It's an open submission. You know, it's actually a good question, because we haven't talked about it here. You know, we talk to filmmakers one-on-one, but it is good to mention that anybody out there watching, if you're a filmmaker, if you're an actor involved in a film, there's no time limit. You know, films are timeless. And people who find movies on Reveal are likely a new audience that didn't find your film at a festival or anywhere else on the planet. So that's entirely acceptable. If you have any short film, any feature film, documentary, web series, you can submit. Go to revealmovies.com and submit your film. There's a submission thing at the bottom of the page, and you know, ask to be included as part of the Reveal community. And then maybe you'll even end up on this show, which would be great, because I love talking to filmmakers. And I think that's a very valid point. It is completely open, Jim, and people can submit from anywhere, any length of film, from any point in time. So I think that you're right. It's an exciting way that there are probably film, especially anything shot on film that had to be projected on film that maybe never had a digital life. There's a whole world and a platform like Reveal to find a brand new audience, and maybe a larger audience than the film ever had originally.
Oh, for sure.
This
is it's very exciting that you're leveraging all of this new technology.
Yeah, I mean, just me as a fan of films, I found some gems that I probably would have never ever found, and filmmakers I've been able to connect to through Reveal that wouldn't have existed. So that's incredibly exciting.
It's very cool, especially yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Anything coming up you can discuss before we wrap things up, or is
well, I mean, I just filmmaker wise, I have a couple of films that are in like pre-production where I'm still figuring out, you know, how to pull it off. I have an animated short called Ninja Chiropractor.
Okay.
Which was it's exactly what it's exactly what you imagine. It's short, and it, you know, it's a ninja chiropractor. And that did well at the Austin Film Festival as a screenplay, and trying to think of how I can get that going. And also, I have a short film called The Privilege Is Mine, which is a dark comedy about white privilege, and you know, how it messes us up even when we think we're really smart, and deep inside the wiring goes deep, and we're not.
Well,
so
you know, I'm always down to help, collaborate, come be an extra, hold a boom pole, whatever you need on any of these projects. But,
awesome.
Yeah, we try to keep these things short and sweet, so I do have to wrap it up. But
great,
everybody out there watching Reveal, Passive Aggressive Dads, and this time it's shopping available on revealmovies.com. If you haven't signed up yet, it's 100% free. You don't need a credit card. It's just a wonderful platform to go find all kinds of great content that you haven't already seen. So take a chance, move away from your other streaming platforms and preferred places to watch movies and TV shows, and check out a wonderful wealth of independent films and contents and concepts and subject matters that maybe you wouldn't see anywhere else. So Jim, thanks for joining us today. And I'm sure as you make more films, we will have you back on here and get to follow your career.
Gavin, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.